Hello everyone and welcome to Stoked. My name is Chris.
My name is Jeremy.
And this is the ultimate Star Trek online podcast.
The one and only.
And in this episode, it's going to be hands-on with Season 2 and we're really excited.
And that's how we live up to the ultimate.
Yeah.
But first, before we get into that, we like to cover some community efforts on the show whenever we are tipped off to one. This is one that I've been tipped off to a little while now, but I wanted to announce it officially.
Okay.
Stowe Radio has launched. Now, this is basically streaming media 24/7.
It's not us.
Well,
although you'll be on it.
We'll be involved.
Oh, I will be involved as well, I'm told.
Yeah, without your knowledge. They're going to be syndicating Stoked.
Yeah,
we will be airing
true.
on their station every Wednesday at 3 o'clock
along
Pacific.
with music and other types of call-in shows and all kinds of stuff.
I'll be doing a live show of my own called You Got Mathed. You guys know what'll be on that.
Yeah.
Every Monday at 3 o'clock Pacific.
You're going to do like a long format math?
A full hour.
Like a monologue?
I'm hoping you guys will actually join me in the chat room. And we can have a discussion on the show.
Yeah.
Eventually, I'm going to try to work out the details so I can actually accept Skype calls as well.
Yeah.
Live.
Well, we can always get all that working.
Yeah, we probably
can. So people can go over to STO-radio.com.
Yes. Before you hit enter in the address bar, though, turn your speakers down.
It does autoplay.
It autoplays the stream, and it's
you're not a fan of that.
It's a little on the loud side.
Yeah. Now, just as an informational FYI to people, you remember we had mentioned, what was it, 3 weeks ago about the Nerf science consoles? Was it 4 weeks ago?
It was season 1.
Okay, it felt like it was sooner than that.
Well, it didn't make a big splash. It didn't affect us so much because the whole thing was that new science consoles were less powerful than the old science consoles, which we already had.
Right.
So what are they going to do with these consoles to bring them in line or somehow balance it out?
And so the question came, well, how do you now resolve these two differences?
For a long time, it was basically just wait and see. We'll figure something out eventually.
Yeah.
We finally have an answer.
We waited
from the
and
devs.
now we're seeing, I guess.
Yeah. With the launch of Season 2, because basically it requires one of the mechanics of Season 2 for them to implement this change. Yep. And that is basically that now the science consoles that were grandfathered in, those more powerful consoles, are going to finally be brought down and evened out with every other console in the game. But at the same time, they're going to be labeled.
So they're getting nerfed.
Which, honestly, I think is a good thing for the sake of balance, especially in a game with a lot of PvP.
Yeah, well, if they're not going to bring the other ones up, they have to bring the other ones
Exactly.
Yeah.
So to compensate people that have those old grandfathered consoles, they're going to now be labeled as prototypes. So they're going to be just as effective as the other ones. But the neat thing about a prototype is that you can then take it to Quark's Bar and trade it to the Ferengis for extra gold press latinum.
And what would you use gold press latinum for?
We'll tell you that a little bit
that'll be in Season 2.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the possibility of some rumors. This is nothing official at all.
No.
But there's some rumors of a second generation characters for new races.
That's a term that I've used, is second generation.
Yeah.
That basically new races are getting rolled out all the time. So we've gotten the Regellians, the Pokleds, the Caitians. If we're already a Rear Admiral, a lot of people are going like, well, I'd
like to be that.
I want that, but I don't want to start over.
Right.
So Daniel Stowe came on the forums and he mentioned that they are looking into the possibility of doing something. He called it something like a bundle pack that you might be able to buy with the race itself, the unlock, an extra character slot, and the ability for that character to start at captain rank.
That's what I found really interesting. And he said this is theoretical because they don't have even the mechanics worked out on the back end side, how to bring a character immediately to level captain level, because you have a lot of little semantics you have to work out.
You have to work out your energy credits. You don't want to start at captain and be totally broke. And then they'd need to implement equipment packs and merits and credits and bridge officers and everything like that.
It's a ways out.
A good example of that is actually, I got to admit, Klingon play has not interested me enough until this point to actually level up a Klingon that high. So if I could somehow buy a KDF character, race doesn't matter for these purposes.
You wouldn't have technically earned it.
Oh, that's true. Maybe that side would not be locked until I had a Brigadier General.
Yeah, exactly.
That's possible.
But I think that's probably how it should be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I agree with you there.
All right.
So my example is terrible. Don't listen to anything that I have to say.
Well, now, one other thing we'll touch on, we'll just give it a mention. A couple of things in the Ask Cryptic came out. Specifically, there was some talk about Facebook integration.
Yes, and one of the reasons I want to bring this up is because probably a lot of people that watch our show have been at least tangentially watching the whole hubbub that has come out over Blizzard's
the train wreck over Real ID.
Yeah, and one of the big sticking points there is that people don't want their accounts tied to their Facebook. Tied to their real name. There's privacy violations all over the place. Right. Now, the reason I want to talk about this in terms of Cryptic is because I like what Cryptic is doing with this.
Okay. Specifically the Facebook part of it.
People in-game won't be able to access your Facebook. It's your friends on Facebook will now be able to see that.
It's not bridging the two worlds.
Exactly.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's because only the people it's only the network and the friends you've already made on your Facebook profile. Yep. It's for your Facebook community.
Right.
Yeah.
It's more of a way to brag to your real life friends and family that you play Star Trek on.
Well,
is
more
brag,
like
is brag
annoy them. Yeah. I think that's more like
to combat their Farmville spam. That's what it's for.
That's for real.
Take this, you freaking pig gift.
That's the truth.
But so your friends or your guildmates, your fleetmates in Stowe won't all of a sudden have access to your real life name and your real life Facebook account. So there's no fear of e-stalking and all that all those other things that are coming up as a result of this Real ID hubbub.
Right. Now, Real ID isn't really the platform that we talk. That whole area isn't what we talk about on STOked.
No.
But you've actually done some blogging about it.
Actually, a few weeks back, I started a new MMO-themed blog that you guys can find at. I'm going to put a lower third right here because there's a lot of words. MMORGUE.wordpress.com.
That's going to change,
It's the morgue.
You got to get a domain.
It will eventually be themorgue.com.
Yeah.
If I can get it.
Mm-hmm. We need like a GoDaddy sponsorship for STOked so you can get that.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's get into our Season 2 preview, our hands-on Season 2 preview.
Let's do it.
Right now. Now we're really excited because it is time to give you our hands-on preview on Season 2.
We did the epic patch of Tribble.
Yeah.
Well, that did take a few minutes. And actually mine crashed a few times, so I had to patch it like 3 or 4 times. Anyway, it's Tribble. It's test server. Stuff happens.
That's what happens. One of the things that is active is the new science ship model for the Intrepid.
Yeah.
And it looks hot. I instantly recognized the difference.
Yeah.
As soon as my model loaded, I was like, oh, that looks better. They changed where the impulse engine positions are. They streamlined the look of it. Big improvement. Major good job, guys.
From a ship geek like you.
Now, the biggest thing has got to be in Season 2, I think, for a lot of people, is all of the new Klingon content.
So these new Klingon-specific PvE missions are kind of spread out across the range. The first missions start at level 12. There's 2 more at level 20 and 4 more at level 30. The new Fakiri enemy. Have you had a chance to see this?
Yeah, they look evil. Because they look kind of zombie bestial. Another goodie that we got was fleet emblems. So these are like your decals you can put on your ship, right?
And on your uniforms. They show up on your shoulders. I already actually put one together for Jupiter Force. Now, the system itself is a little less robust than I was hoping for.
Oh, yeah?
Right now, it's 3. And one of those is the background patch that they go on. So your actual emblem itself is only 2 layers. So far, not impressed. I think that a real fleet emblem needs at least 4, preferably 5, maybe even 6 layers. You want to really be able to... Have you seen some of the fleet emblems that people have had on the Stowe forums?
They're epic.
I mean, that's what people are going to want to be able to copy.
You can't just put a PNG or a JPEG of that on the ship?
No.
Because they don't want like somebody to put a dick on the ship.
Exactly.
Yeah, because I'd totally do that. I wouldn't.
No, of course not.
Now,
he would.
I don't have this yet, and I don't think you have this yet either, is the Slipstream Drive.
So a Slipstream Drive, can you explain
Well, this is going to be something for Vice Admirals and like Dahar Masters. It's going to be...
So folks at the level cap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's going to be the ability to essentially use that full impulse that you can use while you're in a mission. And you can go nice and fast. Well, now you're going to get that in sector space.
Oh.
So it'll kind of cut down the time in sector space. Not so bad.
That's a big perk to get in the cap.
I like going fast.
Yeah. It also works in well with the squad system. You can get even faster to go help your other fleeties now that you're level cap.
That is a good point.
I'm only still a rear admiral.
Which is funny.
I just got upper half.
Oh, yeah? I was going to say, because you're slacking.
I know.
I think that patch has been on there for at least almost 24 hours.
I know. I'll tell you what I've been spending all my time, though, on is...
Dabo!
Dabo.
Yeah, love Dabo. It's a ton of fun. Also, with just, in my personal opinion, just enough social interaction.
There were probably 20 to 30 people standing around the Dabo table all playing, and you can see each other's bets, and you can see who the big winner of every spin is.
Yeah, it puts a little notification up. Hey, so-and-so just won 100,000 points or something, or Latinum. You're like,
Latinum.
Awesome. And you can buy some really cool things, including a holo projector for your ship.
There are ship holograms that turn your ship into Klingons or Jem'Hadar. Additionally, there are accolades you can earn for playing.
Yes.
Which is... kind of cheesy, kind of cheap, but...
Loved it. That, every time, I was probably like, well, I could probably wrap up Dabo and go do something.
And then...
Oh, an achievement! Oh, well, I'll just go another couple of rounds.
Now, I do have some negative comments to make about this. It's not all sunshine and roses because, like I said, it's very easy. There's basically no skill involved. I was actually hoping that I'd be able to do a math segment on Dabo or something like that. Not going to happen.
It's pretty much chance.
It's pretty much a slot machine.
I probably spent way too much time playing it. There's no Hollow Lita yet, though.
No.
That's coming. Let's talk about the scanning minigame. So I didn't get a chance to play this when it came up, and I was sort of observing. Like, I was trying to take it all in, popped right off my screen.
Yeah, there's a 5-second timer.
Didn't know that.
It's kind of difficult if you're using the mouse. Move your hand from your mouse to your arrow keys and get ready to do the game with your arrow keys.
Oh, using WASD or what?
No, your actual arrow keys.
Arrow keys. You just said that. Now, let me ask you this,
the keys that have arrows on them.
Let me ask you this. Does it come up for every anomaly? It's every anomaly?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Now, if you don't want to play the game, you still get the anomaly. You still get the same thing that you would usually get from harvesting it.
Yep.
If you do play the game and you manage to defeat the challenge, you get extra harvestables and an increased % chance of finding rare harvests. And also, I did want to mention that this minigame was designed by Thomas the Cat.
I thought it looked familiar. Federation Diplomatic Corps.
This is the other thing I spent all my time doing.
Yep, that's the same. We got our first look at the lounge.
It's a little smaller than I expected.
It's good.
But, you get all these expectations of these gigantic interiors from the rest of your ship.
Did you notice, too, that the bridge, how long have the bridge had size modes?
You're talking about in the ship, Taylor. Yeah.
After you just get your new ship and you select a bridge, you can select the size.
I believe that is your ship interior layout. That's not yet implemented live on Tribble.
That will be part of Season 2?
It should be, yes.
Okay. So going back to the diplomatic missions, you end up in your lounge. This one was a Cardassian mission, and outside my lounge windows, there were Cardassian ships.
Yeah, so there are a number of these hard-set diplomatic missions that you can experience. There's the one at Bajor that we both did, and then there's also 4 or 5 at Memory Alpha, and one on Vulcan as well. In addition to this, all of those Aid the Planet missions will give you diplomatic experience as well.
Yeah.
They've basically said that almost any non-combat mission that's implemented anywhere in the game will give you diplomatic experience.
Oh, good. Now, you can actually fail these missions. Little golf clap for failable missions, ladies and gentlemen.
If you fail, you just go back in and try it again.
Yeah.
The prize of the Diplomatic Corps is these first contact missions. Every time you get one of these, the idea is that if you do the first contact mission correctly, you get increased experience over what you would usually get from another diplomatic mission.
I see. What unlocks that new diplomatic uniform? Which I'm not even sure is finished yet, but I think is slick looking.
I don't know exactly when they are rewarded, but the first level up of your Diplomatic Corps comes when you've earned 160 experience. So 16 missions, give or take, first contact successes.
Okay.
Beyond just giving you more content to play, they also enhance the storylines.
That's cool.
And it's a great way to do things.
Now, one of the last things we'll touch on for this hands-on preview is the new Borg and Undine missions. So you have to be level 45, right? Or above to play these?
Yeah.
Okay.
To pick up and there's a new contact for both the Federation and the Klingons.
Which is awesome.
No.
Cross-faction.
Well, I mean, it's cool that both of them can play these missions, but I'm tired of getting new contacts every time they roll out a new mission. I don't want another contact. Stop it.
The reverse argument is, I'm sick of having to go to Earth Space Dock.
Hail Starfleet.
This new mission...
A lot of people have been griping about because it's apparently very difficult.
This new mission puts you on a Borg cube. You get to board the Borg cube.
Yeah, it's not intended to be a special task force level difficulty. But folks are saying unless you're fully outfitted in special task force gear and have special task force level gear for your bridge officers, you probably don't want to attempt to solo this mission. There's some good and bad that comes with that. I like the opportunity to have to really work to earn something. But on the other hand, the rest of the game is so easy. Why suddenly change your expectations of the gameplay that you're encountering?
Well, maybe this is an indication of how future content's going to be.
If that's true, then I can get on board with that.
All right. Now, we're going to be talking about sector space in the next segment. So with that in mind, we're going to mention the new look of sector space. So that was the Pelia?
Yeah, the Pelia sector, which is off the west side of Gamma Orionis.
So this is a new sector block with the new look.
This is a sneak peek on what the rest of the sectors will probably end up.
Well, that is our look at Season 2, and as more comes up, we'll probably have segments on specific things. But
I want to encourage you guys one last time, though, if you're curious about any of this, go ahead and patch Tribble. I'll include the notes on how to transfer your characters again in our show notes.
Go check that one out.
That's right.
So we were just talking about the new redesigned look of sector space, which happens to roll really nicely into today's mail segment.
Last week we asked you guys how you would go about revamping sector space, or replacing it or removing it or
in a lot of cases replacing it.
In a lot of cases removing it. Actually, our number one request, we'll go through the ones that were very common first that a lot of you guys mentioned, and this is basically one that everybody mentioned, is at some level they want the ability to set courses, plot courses from either their bridge or their interiors in some manner.
I think what I said last episode was, if I'm on the ground, prompt me before we beam up. Would you like to beam to your bridge or to sector space?
Yeah, I think that's important, is to leave sector space as it, well, maybe not as it is, but as an option. There are a number of drawbacks to getting rid of it entirely. The social aspect is a big thing. I mean, even if you don't talk to people in sector space, just the fact that you're flying by somebody and you can check out their ship.
Exactly.
You know, see that they're the USS Pwn Your Face.
See all of the Galaxy X's in the game that you whiners were complaining about. And now, apparently...
You're all flying them.
Yeah. Have you guys noticed that? There's a lot of Galaxy X's right now. And I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'm watching you.
And
also, it's cool to group up. Like, when we do live Stoked gaming, we'll all group up or arrange ourselves around a system before we go in.
And we'll have a whole posse flying through sector space from one spot to another.
It's actually kind of cool.
It's neat to watch. And that's another thing, is if you did it all internally, how
we're like a rabid pack of ninjas.
If you were all grouped up, how would you handle the ship interior? Would everybody be beamed to the leader's bridge?
I think so. Or you'd be on your own bridges, piloting your ship. That's probably what you need to do. You'd be piloting your ship.
Well, maybe ship interior flight is for solo play only then?
No.
And grouped is
What's
always
the
going to be...
difference? You're either staring at your ship in sector space or you're staring at the wall of your bridge.
If I was with other people, I would rather stare at all of our ships and have that visual social representation.
Jeremy.
Yeah. Another thing to worry about is, what do you do with deep space encounters? I'll get into that a little bit more, because that was a specific suggestion we had from one of our listeners. The number 2 request, and I think you agree with this one a lot, is abolish zoning.
Oh, yeah.
Get
no
rid of
more
the zone
traffic
lines.
control. Space, big.
Yeah.
And traffic control, dumb. So what I would like to do is, especially if I'm on my bridge, but even if I'm just blasting through sector space, that's usually when I go get a sandwich.
Yeah.
So, or a cup of coffee, or a Red Bull. I'll be flying through sector space, I'll set my course, and I'll go get my sandwich, but by the time I come back, I'm getting a prompt from border control.
You know, at the very least, allow us an option in the current game as it stands to auto zone.
Call it sandwich mode. Right?
Yeah.
Make it a sandwich. I'll be back. You make a 15-minute timeout. You can leave that in place. That's fine. That's fair. I would like the sandwich mode, and I would like the no lines. That'd be cool. And then those would be even more important if you're on the bridge.
And we actually have a specific suggestion on how to implement that from one of our users. Let's see.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, it was from Richter Scale.
Oh, Richter Scale.
He's been mentioned almost every time, I think, now. So you can have the entire galaxy basically as one massive zone.
Yeah.
That would be just way too much
It'd be
information.
too much, yeah.
So implement some sort of like a fog of war.
And that makes sense, because you could tie that back to that's just the range of your long-range sensors.
Exactly.
Ah, I like that.
Which would also make it feel a little more vast.
Good thinking, Richter Scale.
On that same general topic, one of the more overarching thing that a lot of people ask for is just to make it feel bigger, feel more epic, feel more warpy.
Well,
you know,
I think all of that comes back to borderlines, zones, and traffic control.
Yeah. Another common request we had from like 2 or 3 of you guys was to implement the exploration aspects of the game, like random unexplored systems, directly into sector space, rather than shoving it off to the side where you can just ignore it and it's off there in some cluster that you never have to pay any attention to. You know, in the real world, space is vast, of course.
Big.
But if we had sensors like they have in the Star Trek world, you would be able to see a lot more stars, a lot more systems than we currently see. On the way from Earth to Vulcan, you would probably pass several hundred different red dwarf stars, you know, systems with no planets, but they might have an asteroid belt that's being mined. So you're saying if you're
making that more treacherous, that journey there, it makes space feel bigger because you're obviously passing through other minor
systems. And
okay.
maybe there's an option that you can engage. Like when you set your autopilot to a new location, you can say active scan for activity along this route or maximum warp.
Oh, I like that. So that would tie in really well with the sandwich mode.
Exactly. Let's go into some of the specific suggestions that we had. And Zero Bang gave one that sometimes we get suggestions that are 30 pages long.
Yep. And this one was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 letters long.
Star streaks. That's it.
Or words, I should say.
Simple.
and I would like to extend his request. Please do like late DS9 or Voyager type star streaks, not early TNG rainbow color star streaks.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
No.
But where I'd really like to see that is on my view screen.
But you know, even in sector space as it is now, if I pass a star, if it comes by my camera, it's just a little dot, a fuzzy dot of light that goes, ooh.
Yeah, or it's like a fuzzy, yeah.
Why not a star streak? It would at least make sector space feel larger, because it would feel like you're traveling much faster.
Yeah.
You know, even though you're, you know, presumably zoomed out by several thousand
Well, the original thing about sector space was that it was an abstract sort of astrometrics view. So you're seeing a virtual representation of space.
And earlier on in the game, before we were actually playing beta, we really liked that idea because it implemented well.
I still kind of get it. I mean, I still kind of like it, the concepts.
Honestly, I still kind of get it, but the big problem with that is that there's too much of a blending between the abstraction of this sector space astrometrics.
I disagree.
And the reality.
I don't think it is a blending, and I think that's the problem. I think it's a hard wall. It's completely abstract. Boom, there's your real ship. The real ship that you have in combat, the real ship that you fly around in space, totally out. It needs to it would either need to be an abstract representation of your ship, but that would probably suck.
Yes.
Because you know what I do in sector space? I set a course and then I look around my ship.
Yeah, look at the other ships.
If Cryptic has data on what I actually, like my camera, they know that I spend 90% of my sector space time going, ooh, pretty.
Well, when you're not making sandwiches.
Yeah, but it's that abstract view that it's like, you're right, you nailed it. It's real world meets this total virtual world. It doesn't fit.
And that's why it kind of brings you out.
Issue.
It's a real immersion breaker. I hate using that word, but it's really the best.
And you don't even realize, until you mentioned it earlier today, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, what's next?
Plunkett had a very easy way to represent his thoughts. He said, ditch the lollipops and ditch the neon blue streaks. And actually, if you've seen the pictures of the revamp, it's pretty much what they're doing. But his other big idea is to also revamp the actual graphics of the individual star systems themselves.
Yeah, he liked the idea of making the suns a little smaller and maybe giving a little more life to the planets.
So if you shrank the suns down, just even that much of a graphics revamp would make the whole thing feel a lot bigger.
Okay, not a bad idea. What else we got?
Betty Blue, and this is what you were talking about earlier.
Okay. Betty Blue said integrate navigation directly into your mission journal. And I like this idea because I was saying that the disconnect here for me is there's the system name. Sometimes that isn't exactly what's described in the episode mission text.
Right.
So there's a bit of a disconnect there. And then also, why not just make that name in the quest log clickable, just right there on the right-hand side?
Or like, there's already a button at the bottom of your mission log that says make primary.
Right.
What if instead of make primary, it just said make it so, or something like that? And you click on that, and you're immediately set on a course towards the nearest mission objective.
I like make it so, because it's setting it as primary, sets the course, do it.
Okay, we got another suggestion from Price Preston. This is what I was talking about earlier with the deep space encounters. Preston's entire idea is to make not sector space itself change, but just to make it more interesting by adding more variants to the deep space encounters that you can run across.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. So when I'd mentioned earlier, if I'm on my bridge, have a boarding party beam onto the bridge.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, this would be a great way to tie in interiors. Picture it. You're flying through space. How cool is it that like a pirate or somebody would sneak up on you, beam onto your ship and attack you? That is some cool space stuff happening.
Especially, Klingons and Romulans have cloaking devices. Theoretically, they should be able to beam to your ship before you even know that they're there.
So would all you jerks out there with your Galaxy X's.
We know you're there.
Yeah, I think that'd be neat.
Another idea that Preston had was also to do some sort of random engine malfunction that might be... It might have a similar mechanic to a deep space encounter, it all of a sudden throws you into a map, but maybe like your warp coil went out or something.
I like the idea. And he had a good suggestion. Your warp coil blows out, so either you have reduced speed or you need to jump onto a nearby system or something like that to do a repair.
If you blow a warp coil, chances are you're probably within traveling distance of, let's say, an asteroid base, a mining colony.
That'd be cool.
So that you wouldn't usually visit, but now that you have an engine malfunction, you have to go visit this little podunk place and get
So it really could be even something that doesn't even show up inside sector space. If it's a little tiny asteroid, that's not going to be there, but the gameplay mechanic would still work, and it still works in the universe.
It could be just like a deep space encounter, where all of a sudden the loading screen pops up, and then when you get into the map, you get a pop-up from your bridge officer saying, "Captain, we've just suffered a major malfunction," and then your tactical officer comes on and says, "Captain, within less than a light year, there's a mining colony that might be able to provide us with a new warp coil." And then while you're traveling there, maybe you have to go to sick bay to do a medical test.
Whoa, now you're getting crazy. Now, I want to point people to this epic thread. We'll link to it in our show notes.
We love doing these. Every time we get questions, we always end up being pointed to at least one of these epic threads.
Yeah, and this one's great because it's got
pictures.
We love pictures.
We like pictures.
And it's
Because we're not smart enough to read.
What was the guy's name that did this thread? It was
Black Avar.
Oh, yeah.
Avar.
And what I like is first of all, not a complete throw out of sector space, which usually makes it in the doable category. And he has some suggestions for advanced course plotting.
Have you ever gotten a patrol mission and you go...
You got to do like 3 systems or whatever.
You go to your map and you pick the closest one, or maybe you pick the wrong one and it's the furthest one away. Then you just fly to it and do the mission, and after you get back out of it, you have to go pick the next mission, pick the next location.
Right, you got to bring up the map the whole time, see which one's the next one and the closest to you. Yeah, it's a pain.
His idea is basically to allow advanced course plotting where you can pick every system in a row, plot your entire course, and as you get to each mission and then you complete it, when you go back to sector space, there would just be a resume function.
I like it.
And it makes more sense from a Star Trek.
You could tie that in with your Make It So button. So when you hit Make It So, it turns on that.
The entire thing.
And then you add in the resumable. He's got a bunch of other really great ideas.
Oh, I want to mention real quick, one of the other mechanic changes that he would have is basically, you know how when you want to fly to the next sector over and you click on the arrow, you always go to the same spot, and maybe it's like way up there, even though you can zone down here as well.
Yes.
Well, he's implemented some sort of slider along the side so that when you set your course, you can choose to zone right here instead of way up there.
And he has a picture to illustrate that, and it's done really well.
But they're really simple. They're just a refinement of the existing system, which, just as he said, probably means they would be more closer to being implemented than some of the other outlandish ideas you guys have sent in. You're crazy.
Yeah.
You're brilliant. But you guys are crazy.
It's a little crazy, and we're there, right? We're right with you. We don't have a question for you for next week. We may or may not be doing a live gameplay, and we always like it if you can join us. So check out our Facebook page over at facebook.com/Jupiter Broadcasting.
If we choose to do it, that is the first place that we will announce it, and you can tune in. We'll tell you the time and all that info. If you have any feedback on this episode, you can join us on 2 different ways. The first of which is our forum.
Yeah, buddy. We've got that.
You can not just talk to us, but everybody else that watches the show.
That's true. That's actually a nice point. And one of the threads that's in that Jupiter Colony forum right now is all the things that they're looking forward to Season 2. So if you've got a few things we didn't cover for Season 2, or you want to see some other people's suggestions, head over to jupitercolony.com and look in the STOked section for that stuff.
And if there's anything else you want to talk to us about, you can just send us your feedback over at STOked@jupiterbroadcasting.com. That's an email address.
And that's always handy. All right, everyone. Well, STOked comes out every Tuesday over at jupiterbroadcasting.com.
And every Wednesday over at STOradio.com.
Oh, that's right. Yep, STO-radio.com. We're getting syndicated on Wednesdays. How about that? Do you know when you're going to do your math?
Every Monday.
No kidding.
Yep.
Wow, you are going to be... Monday is Math with Jeremy, and then Tuesday is STOked, and then Wednesday you can
watch it again.
Of course, you can just download it.
No.
And you can download it in many different formats over at jupiterbroadcasting.com. All right, everyone. Well, until next Tuesday, we hope you've enjoyed this episode of STOked.